In 1888, London stood at the peak of the Victorian era, a city of grandeur and industry, yet one that concealed dark and chaotic corners. The East End district of Whitechapel was one such place, a slum where poverty, crime, and social unrest intertwined, making it one of the most dangerous areas in the city. Against this backdrop, a series of horrifying murders shook London to its core. The killer's methods were brutal, his whereabouts unknown, and the media and the public soon gave him a chilling name, Jack the Ripper. On the morning of August 31, 1888, before dawn could dispel the shadows of the London streets, the mutilated body of a woman was discovered in Bucks Row, Whitechapel. She was Mary Ann Nichols, a middle-aged prostitute, and the state of her corpse sent shivers down the spines of the investigators. Her throat had been deeply slashed, her abdomen cut open, and some of her organs exposed. It was clear that this was no ordinary murder. There was something disturbingly methodical about it. Initially thought to be an isolated crime, this killing would prove to be only the beginning of a reign of terror. Just 9 days later, on September 8th, the body of another victim, Annie Chapman, was found in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street. Her throat had been slit, and her abdomen was savagely mutilated, with her uterus removed. This second murder revealed an emerging pattern of extreme violence, and the police realized that they were dealing with a serial killer. As the press flooded the public with reports, fear gripped the citizens of London, and pressure on the police mounted. Women in Whitechapel began to fear venturing out alone at night, and whispers of a faceless butcher spread through the streets. The terror escalated on the night of September 30th, an evening now infamous as the double event. That night, the first victim, Elizabeth Stride, was found dead on Berner Street. Her throat had been cut, but unlike previous victims, her body had not been further mutilated. The police speculated that the killer had been interrupted before he could complete his gruesome work. However, a mere 45 minutes later, the killer struck again. Catherine Eddowes was murdered in Mitre Square, and this time the mutilations were even more grotesque. Her face was disfigured, her abdomen cut open, and her kidney and uterus were removed. The escalation in brutality confirmed the worst fears. The killer was not only relentless but growing bolder. Near Eddowes' crime scene, the police discovered a blood-stained piece of apron and scrawled on a nearby wall in chalk, a cryptic message. "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." This added further layers of mystery and speculation, fueling political and racial tensions in an already anxious city. On November 9th, the horror reached its peak with the discovery of the final confirmed victim, Mary Jane Kelly. She was found in her rented room on Miller's Court, and this time the killer seemed to have taken his time. Her body was completely butchered, her organs strewn around the room, and the walls were stained with blood. It was described as a slaughterhouse, the most savage of all the murders. Yet strangely, after this atrocity, Jack the Ripper vanished. No more murders fitting his profile were recorded. The London Metropolitan Police and Scotland Yard exhausted all resources in their investigation, flooding Whitechapel with officers and even deploying undercover detectives among the slum's residents. However, forensic science was still in its infancy. Fingerprint analysis was not yet in use, and crime scene preservation was rudimentary. The Ripper's identity remained a mystery. During the investigation, the media received letters supposedly written by the killer himself. Among the most infamous were the Dear Boss letter, the Saucy Jackie postcard, and the Chilling from Hell letter. The latter contained a portion of a human kidney, allegedly from one of the victims, further fueling the public's morbid fascination and deepening the mystery. The police investigated numerous suspects, including Polish barber Aaron Kosminski, known for his unstable mental state and misogynistic tendencies. Montague Druitt, a barrister whose suicide shortly after the last murder raised suspicions. And American Dr. Francis Tumblety, a man with a dubious past. Yet despite extensive inquiries, no conclusive evidence could ever be found against any of them. As time passed, Jack the Ripper's identity became one of history's greatest mysteries. Countless theories, novels, and films have been created around this enigmatic killer. But the truth remains buried in the shadows of 19th century London. The 19th century came to a close, and Jack the Ripper seemed to dissolve into the fog of history, yet his legend never faded. Criminologists, historians, and writers continue to search for answers, with modern forensic techniques such as DNA testing, even attempting to analyze the evidence left behind. However, the killer's true identity remains elusive. Whitechapel streets have changed, but the fear of those nights lingers in history. Who was Jack the Ripper? Why did he suddenly stop? Was he a lone predator, or was there a greater conspiracy at play? This dark mystery may never be solved, securing its place as one of the most infamous unsolved cases in history.